Ferraris covered in sand and dust in airport parking lots. Lamborghinis abandoned on the roadside. Keys still left in the ignition. Showrooms that just 2 years ago could effortlessly circulate hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ultra-luxury vehicles are now facing silence and emptiness. Across Dubai, thousands of luxury vehicles are reportedly sitting idle under the scorching desert sun. What once symbolized wealth, status, and limitless prosperity is now becoming one of the strongest warning signs of a financial system built heavily on debt, speculation, and image-driven spending. For many financial analysts, this is no longer just a story about abandoned supercars. It represents the possible collapse of an economic illusion that expanded too quickly and relied too heavily on easy credit and endless optimism. Many people are familiar with the phrase, "You get what you pay for." But during Dubai's luxury boom years, that basic economic principle appeared to fade into the background. Easy financing, tax-free salaries, and social pressure created an environment where even mid-level professionals felt pushed toward lifestyles once reserved only for billionaires. According to various regional reports and market discussions, thousands of high-end vehicles from brands like Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Bentley, Porsche, and Rolls-Royce are now sitting abandoned in parking lots, impound yards, and roadside areas across Dubai and Sharjah. Some vehicles reportedly remain parked for months at Dubai International Airport, covered in layers of dust and sand. Cars powered by roaring V12 engines that once represented prestige now sit motionless in silence. What makes this situation more serious is that the problem extends far beyond abandoned vehicles. The entire luxury automotive ecosystem appears to be under pressure. Luxury car sales reportedly dropped dramatically within a short period, while prices for used supercars collapsed. For hundreds of thousands of dollars are now struggling to find buyers even after major price reductions. The market that once thrived on exclusivity and speculation suddenly found itself overwhelmed with inventory but lacking actual demand. On Sheikh Zayed Road, a location once famous for dazzling supercar showrooms, the atmosphere has reportedly changed significantly. Massive glass-front dealerships that once displayed some of the world's rarest cars are now seeing fewer visitors and weaker sales activity. This decline has triggered layoffs across the automotive industry. Sales consultants, technicians, mechanics, detailing specialists, and tuning experts are all reportedly being affected as businesses attempt to survive declining revenue. The effects spread even further into Dubai's service economy. Maintenance centers and aftermarket modification workshops that once relied on wealthy clients are experiencing major slowdowns. Parts distributors in industrial areas such as Al Quoz are reportedly facing financial stress as demand weakens and inventory remains unsold. But to understand how this situation developed, it is important to examine the culture that fueled Dubai's supercar explosion in the first place. Dubai spent years building an international image centered around luxury, speed, ambition, and wealth. Social media played a massive role in reinforcing that image. Exotic cars became symbols of success, especially among expatriates hoping to establish status and credibility in an extremely competitive environment. For many professionals arriving from Europe, Asia, and North America, owning a luxury vehicle became more than a personal choice. It became part of the city's social identity. At the same time, banks and lenders reportedly introduced extremely aggressive financing packages. Zero down payment offers became increasingly common. Buyers could reportedly finance nearly the entire value of expensive vehicles over extended loan periods. Insurance costs, registration fees, and even modifications were sometimes included within loan structures, reducing the immediate cash required from buyers. On the surface, monthly payments appeared manageable. But underneath, many owners were taking on enormous long-term liabilities tied to assets that lose value rapidly. This created a dangerous imbalance. A supercar may provide short-term social prestige, but financially it remains a depreciating asset. The moment most luxury vehicles leave the showroom, their value immediately begins declining. Many buyers ignored this reality because Dubai's tax-free income structure created the illusion of endless disposable income. Without heavy income tax deductions, monthly salaries appeared larger than they would in Western countries. That temporary feeling of financial freedom encouraged many individuals to spend aggressively rather than build long-term wealth or diversified investments. In many cases, people compared themselves constantly against others around them. Social pressure and fear of missing out became powerful psychological drivers. When everyone around you appears successful, wealthy, and luxurious, it becomes easy to believe that maintaining appearances is necessary for survival in the city's business culture. However, the entire system depended on one critical assumption, that economic conditions would remain stable forever. And that assumption proved extremely fragile. As global uncertainty increased in early 2026, financial pressure began spreading rapidly through highly leveraged sectors. Rising geopolitical tensions across the Middle East reportedly triggered fears regarding regional security and economic stability. Insurance companies became increasingly cautious about high-risk assets in the Gulf region. Premiums for luxury vehicles reportedly surged dramatically, placing additional pressure on owners already struggling with large monthly payments. At the same time, slowing business activity and growing uncertainty reportedly weakened employment stability for many expatriate workers. And here lies one of the biggest structural weaknesses in Dubai's economic system. For many expatriates, employment visas are directly connected to their jobs. Losing employment can quickly create immigration problems, banking issues, and financial instability all at once. Unlike some Western countries, debt protections and bankruptcy systems in the Gulf region operate very differently. Missing payments on financed assets can trigger serious legal consequences. As pressure intensified, some owners reportedly chose to abandon their vehicles entirely and leave the country before legal restrictions could fully act. This explains why stories of abandoned luxury cars at airports and parking structures became globally famous. In many cases, these vehicles were not abandoned because owners no longer liked them. They were abandoned because the financial burden attached to them became impossible to sustain. The result was a chain reaction. Banks suddenly found themselves repossessing large numbers of luxury vehicles whose market values had already collapsed. Dealerships struggled to sell inventory. Service centers lost customers. Mechanics lost jobs. Investors became nervous. The entire luxury automotive ecosystem began slowing simultaneously. Financial experts often describe this situation using the concept of negative equity. This occurs when the remaining loan balance becomes larger than the actual value of the asset itself. For rapidly depreciating supercars financed over long loan periods, this risk becomes extremely dangerous during economic downturns. An owner may discover that even selling the vehicle would not fully repay the outstanding debt. Once enough people reach this situation simultaneously, the broader financial system begins experiencing stress as non-performing loans rise sharply. But the crisis may extend beyond economics alone. Dubai's desert climate creates harsh conditions for vehicles left abandoned over long periods. Extreme heat, sandstorms, and humidity accelerate deterioration. Engine seals, fluids, cooling systems, batteries, and electronics degrade rapidly under such conditions. Environmental concerns also emerge when thousands of vehicles sit unused for months or years. Oil leaks, coolant contamination, and battery degradation can potentially create long-term cleanup challenges. Electric vehicles may introduce additional complications. High-performance EV battery systems exposed to intense heat for extended periods can become unstable, creating potential fire risks and recycling difficulties. As a result, some abandoned luxury vehicles may eventually be dismantled simply for scrap materials and parts recovery. The symbolism behind this transformation is difficult to ignore. Cars that once represented ambition, prestige, and financial success may ultimately end their lives as piles of aluminum, steel, and damaged electronics sitting in industrial dismantling yards. For many observers, this entire situation serves as a warning about the dangers of debt-fueled lifestyles and speculative economic growth. Dubai remains one of the world's most ambitious and visually impressive cities. Its infrastructure, tourism industry, and global business influence are still enormous. But even the most luxurious economies remain vulnerable when growth becomes too dependent on leverage, perception, and unsustainable consumption. The bigger question now is whether this moment becomes a temporary correction or a deeper structural turning point for the region's luxury economy. Could this be the beginning of a long-term reset for Dubai's supercar culture and debt-driven lifestyle model? Or will the city once again reinvent itself and recover stronger than before? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching all the way to the end.